Jace Richardson can do it all.
Said it, I'm golden. Told you I'm shining. Had to break through. Plan perfect timing. Giving no hands. Go get it. Radix the ruler. Can't with them peasants. Want to win pleasant. Envy the essence.
The Miami Heat picked 20th overall in the upcoming 2025 NBA draft. And so far in our draft series, I've discussed Liam McNeely, Rashir Fleming, Noah Senge, Will Riley, Nikhil Walton Jr., Cedric Howard, Noah Cherry, Ben Seraph, and now Jace Richardson. I want to shout out to all the comments that suggested that I talk about him. Make sure to leave some of your favorite prospects down in the comments below so that I can get a video on them too. So the Miami Heat are still looking for their point guard, right? I think we can all agree that's the position that they need the most. The names that we've heard in the trade market is Trae Young, Ja Morant, maybe LaMelo Ball, but truthfully, I don't think any of those guys are likely. So our next option is to find someone through the draft. We've already talked about several names like Nolan Traore or Ben Seraph, but the truth is, I thought there would be a lot more guards available. But all of a sudden, all of these guys started withdrawing their names from the NBA draft. Maybe because it's such a deep draft, they realized that if they just wait a year, they can get selected higher and get paid a lot more. But then that just means that next draft will be deep also. But anyways, some of those names include Boogie Flund, Tahad Pettiford, and now just of yesterday, LeBaron Philon of Alabama also withdrew his name, like right at the deadline, which was on Wednesday, May 29th or May 28th, I think it was. Subscribe,
And
the reason I found out about him is because that's who we're supposed to be learning about today. This was going to be a LeBaron Philon video. I started writing my script. I started watching some film. I started doing my research. Next thing I know, when I Googled his name, I saw that he was no longer draft eligible as he took his name out. So I looked through my list of guys that I want to talk about that the comments have recommended. And really the only point guard that I saw left was Jase Richardson. And I was a little bit hesitant to make this video because my initial reactions after learning about him was kind of pessimistic, just because I saw his combine measurements from the official NBA combine where he was listed at slightly over 6 foot, came in at 6'1.5" and only 178 pounds. The height is quite a bit different than what he was listed at in college. A lot of websites had him at 6'3", so he's not that tall, but the good news is he did measure a 6'6" wingspan, which does make it a little bit easier for him to get his shot off in the NBA. Also shows some more defense potential since he does have some longer arms. Now, to tell you some player comps that I saw so you can get an idea of what his game is like, I saw Monte Ellis, who I kind of like, I kind of get. Jace Richardson's a good scorer, has some versatility there, a good shooter. Monte Ellis was those things as well. He wasn't always a great three-point shooter, but he was very good in that mid-range. So was Jace Richardson. I also saw Reed Sheppard, which is weird. It's like, how are you picking a player comp for a guy that played like 4 NBA games? But needless to say, Reed Sheppard was excellent at Kentucky and in the G League. It's just that Houston Rockets team is so deep, he didn't get a lot of chances to play. But we'll see what Reed Sheppard does going forward. So these last two player comps that really did get me excited, though, two defensive-minded guards that could also score the ball pretty well, shoot the ball pretty good. It's Derek White and Rip Hamilton. If Jace Richardson has the ceiling of any one of those guys, I would be thrilled if he could turn into that for the Miami Heat. On the offensive side of things, I could see him doing what those guys do. Derek White, very good shooter. Rip Hamilton, very good in the mid-range. Jace Richardson is both of those things. I'm just not sure if he has that kind of defensive upside since he is quite a bit smaller than both of those guys. But he is only 19, so he's very young, still has room to grow potentially vertically, maybe. Definitely put on some weight for sure. But he only played one season at Michigan State where his numbers were pretty good. 12 points per game. Only 2 assists, so he's not a huge playmaker, but did get you 3 rebounds. And this is the part that does excite me. Usually with a lot of the guards that we looked at, their percentages are not that good at all. That's not the case for Jace Richardson. He was 49% from the field on only 8 attempts, so it's not like he even shot a lot. But 49% from the field and 41% from 3. That's on 3 attempts. So very, very good efficiencies there. Only played 25 minutes a night as a freshman, only started 15 of the 36 games. But that just goes to point out that there's still a lot of potential there because his numbers were good while the role wasn't all that huge. Now, you can argue the adverse of that, where if he had a bigger role, if he took more shots, maybe his percentages wouldn't be as high. but I'm not quite sure that's the case. He definitely seems like a guy who could be a skilled scorer in the league. At least that's what some people think. He did have some disparity as where he was mocked across the different publications, like most of these guys in this range. I did see CBS had him at number 21, so one pick after the Heat. NBA Draft at 26, a couple picks after the Heat. And the Bleacher Report at number 19, one pick in front of the Heat. So a lot of people had him right around the range of where the Miami Heat pick. But then I saw several publications that had him very close to the lottery or in the lottery. The Ringer had him at 12, Yahoo at 16, and Tankathon at number 15. I know his stock was a lot higher prior to the combine when people thought he was a little bit taller. So his stock did drop a sum. So maybe those last couple of publications are either not updated or they just don't care about his height. They judge him for the film that they saw. But now let's get into some of his pros and cons. We're going to be reading the ones that Kevin O'Connor put in his article for Yahoo Sports, but I'll share my own opinion as well based off my independent research and film watching. The first strength that they have listed is his mid-range scoring. It says that he's an outstanding mid-range shooter who loves stopping on a dime, then fading away with high arcing shots to reach over his defender. That's a great way as a smaller guard to get your shot off. Use that 6'6" wingspan, put a high arc on it. It'll be very difficult to block. In addition to the next part, which says he has a feathery touch on leaners, floaters, and hook shots, showing amazing body control, elevating on the move. Now, of course, we love the floater for a small guard. They call that the giant killer. You get into the paint, put that little floater up 13, 14 feet in the air. That's a bit high. Probably closer to 11, 12 feet in the air. It's really difficult for a shot blocker to block that, at least without getting a goaltend. Now, the hook shot thing is interesting because we saw, who was it? That guy, Xavier Simpson. Y'all know about OKC G League legend Xavier Simpson. Used to have this little skyhook, Kareem-esque skyhook. And he was a smaller guard, and that's why he developed it, because you can't block a skyhook. You got your whole shoulders protecting the ball. Never understood why more players didn't try to perfect that. But yeah, if Jase Richardson has a skyhook like that, it's just a great thing to add to your bag to be a good scorer in this league, even though you're at a little bit of a smaller height. It also says that most of his mid-range attempts come when attacking closeouts and operating in the pick and roll. Of course, when you're as efficient a three-point shooter as it is, that will allow you to get to that dribble pull-up game in the mid-range. The next strengths that it lists is his at-rim finishing. It says, despite being a below-the-rim athlete, he has immaculate touch and footwork that allow him to score amongst the trees. Y'all know I love the footwork. That's why my favorite player of all time is Hakeem Olajuwon. Y'all know I say I got the foot fetish for the footwork of Jaime Jaquez Jr. So I really like the fact that he has that kind of skill, because that's true skill. Like, usually that's an OG thing, like footwork. Like, that's something that your unk has, not a 19-year-old freshman coming out of Michigan State. So it is very encouraging to see that he has that type of skill. It also says that he's tough. He'll drive into defenders, absorb contact, still finish. Even though you're smaller, if you are able to initiate contact on the drive, that little bump is enough to throw your defender off, which allows you to finish amongst the trees. So that is good that he has that kind of skill as well. But in the NBA, you may try to bump guys and they may not budge because they may be a lot bigger than you. So he still needs to add on some muscle if he wants to continue doing that part of his game. I do want to say, too, based on my film, yeah, he's typically a below-the-rim finisher, likes to finish with layups, but I saw some pretty clean dunks, too. Like, he can get up there, which makes sense because I should note his dad is Jason Richardson, like one of the best dunkers in NBA history, truthfully. So he definitely has some hops in his genes. The next strength that they have is his pick and roll creation. It says he's a patient ball handler who's able to use ball screens and get defenders on his back hip, then snake into the middle of the floor for pull-ups, floaters, and playmaking opportunities. We talked about this with Ben Sahaf. The Heat need pick and roll playmaking creators. They got Bam Adebayo, Khalil Ware, two guys who should excel in the pick and roll. It's just a damn shame they've never had someone that can get them the ball. So I do like that Jase Richardson can do that. The next strength that it has is great role player skills, which is important. You know, as a 6-foot guy, probably won't ever be your lead guard. That is one of the weaknesses. We'll get into that too. So it is good that he can be a role player. A lot of the little things that he does, like he attacks closeouts, whether it's off a catch, catches the ball, someone swings it to him, immediately uses his speed to go inside the paint. That kind of throws the defense off. Or he has a nice pump fake that also allows him to get inside the paint as well. It also says that he's great relocating with or without the ball, flying off of screens, and most importantly, has a high IQ, doesn't lose focus or force a lot. That's another thing the Heat need is high IQ players, because They have Terry Rozier. He's not high IQ. I love Tyler Hero, but some of the shots he takes is a bit wild. So it's nice to know Jase Richardson can just be a reliable piece, especially if he's a role player. You don't want your role players to mess things up for the stars, and that's just not something that Jase Richardson is going to do. He's not going to mess things up. And then the last strength that they have really does excite me. It says defensive intensity. Richardson is a tenacious defender who competes hard on the ball, has active hands to disrupt opponents' ball handlers, and he stays locked in off the ball. He'll fight through screens. Reminds me of Davion Mitchell. Blocks layups because he is low-key athletic, and he also jumps the passing lanes, which that 6'6" wingspan will allow him to do, and he plays with a fearlessness that tends to lead to winning plays. This part is very important for me because just because you're small doesn't mean you can't be a good defender. Muggsy Bogues was a pest for so many years, and that's because he used his height to his advantage. He was able to be a sneaky little guy because he was so quick and he played so hard that he was able to get a lot of steals. That's why I really didn't like, we saw some of the weaknesses for Ben Sahaaf and Nolan Traore specifically, actually, that they're not great defenders, but it also said that they tend to lose focus sometimes, not try super hard on that end of the ball. And it could just be because they're young in a European system where they're relied on so heavily offensively. Things can change when they're in the NBA for those guys, but it is nice to know with Jase Richardson that you don't have to worry about his defensive tenacity because the Heat need more Heat culture guys. They need more guys like Davion Mitchell, and I do think Jase Richardson has that kind of heart. As far as his weaknesses, it does say his size on defense, which, yes, as hard as you try, today's NBA, or really Spoelstra's system, is a switch everything defense, which maybe Spo would change, but he does like to switch everything, meaning that pretty easily Jase could get matched up with a bigger guard or a bigger guy in general who could back him down. And as hard as you try, you're not going to be able to stop Kristaps Porzingis on a switch. Well, he's just going to be a jump shooter. I don't know why I picked him, but you're not going to be able to stop someone big who could really just back you down and put their weight into you. So ideally, you don't switch a lot when Jase Richardson is out there. The next weakness is that lead guard ability. Although he's capable of making the right passes just because he has that high IQ, he'll probably be more of a combo guard at the next level than a true lead playmaker. Doesn't have the quickest first step or the tightest handle. I mean, we saw his assist numbers only 2 a night. So, yeah, he's not a true facilitator, I would say. Then it does list isolation scoring as his next weakness because I guess he wasn't super efficient when playing in isolation. But just based off his highlights, like, he can get to his shot in the mid-range. He can kind of create some space. A lot of it does remind me of Isaiah Thomas, Celtics, IT. They're completely different players because IT could potentially be a lead guard or a dominant scorer. We saw him as an MVP type caliber player, and he was certainly a lot faster. He was very athletic, but just the way they have these little crafty moves and bumps and footworks to get into the paint, especially in that mid-range where Jase and IT used to like to operate a lot, I did see some comparisons there. So I think Jase Richardson has the potential to be a little bit of an isolation scorer, but he'll never be to the level of a guy like Isaiah Thomas or Jalen Brunson, just to name a couple of smaller guards. And then the last weakness they have, it's kind of weird that they even added it. They said injury history because at age 17, he hyperextended his knee. The MRI revealed a hole in his femur in the right knee, which, correct me if I'm wrong, but the femur is a big-ass bone. So the fact he got a hole in it is weird. But then it said later that year he had surgery to plug the hole with a bone graft from a cadaver, but he's been healthy ever since. So if he's been healthy ever since, why did you feel the need to mention that? That kind of scares me. I don't know. I think back to D. Wade shaving the cartilage out of his knee, and it affected him, 15 years later, had a Hall of Fame career. But I don't really know if injury history is a fair weakness to Jase Richardson. He had a surgery, he completed, he's been healthy. So let's hope that's not a concern moving forward. As far as his fit on the Miami Heat, I'm unsure. Because if he doesn't have the potential to be a lead guard or a great isolation scorer, then what can he be? I mean, when I say the Heat need a point guard, I'm kind of saying they need a true facilitator. They have someone that could score, and that's Tyler Hero, but they need someone who can get everyone else involved. I think Jase Richardson can be good at it, but not great at it. I will say I do like that he tries really hard on defense as opposed to Traore or Ben Serif, but he's still a lot smaller than those guys, so I think those guys probably still have more defensive upside just because they have the physical tools. That being said, if his player comp was Derek White before, I would love that. And Derek White is not a lead guard. Now, Derek White is 6'4", so he's 4 inches taller. But am I really going to let 4 inches stop me? 4 inches is not that much in the right context. Other times, it's just enough. All of that being said, after I did my research, I did open up to Jase Richardson a little bit because he's a very well-rounded player who is good at a lot of things and might have the potential to be great at a lot of things as well. I'm not sure he could ever play next to Tyler Hero just because of the whole size thing and lack of elite playmaking, but he definitely could be a very nice guard off the bench depending how this roster construction shakes out this offseason. Maybe Tyler Hero's not even on the roster because he's in Milwaukee or Phoenix. And then maybe you need a guy like Jase Richardson, although that pick would definitely be sent in any trade. I don't know. That's what's tough with this stuff. It's like you want to draft the guy who could fit next to Hero because Hero's arguably going to be here for the foreseeable future. Unless Hero was not here for the foreseeable future, then draft best player available. But then it's like if Hero is not here, it's because you traded him for a star, which means you probably also attached this pick. So it's like, what do the Miami Heat do here? I don't know. I'd say take best player available, and who knows? It might be Jase Richardson. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. What do you think Jase Richardson's ceiling is in the NBA? And leave a like, subscribe, because all your support is really appreciated. I'm on the grind to hit 8,000 subs, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace out, everyone.
Look, pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.